Welcome, I'm Shel. This is a yin style practice, so it is a bit more passive than a vinyasa or flow style class. It's going to get deeper into connective tissues and really kind of support your skeletal system. So it is less focused on muscular strength and stretch and more focused on length in the connective tissues, so thinking tendons and ligaments, because those need to stretch rather slowly. They're not as elastic as muscle fibers. It also can increase circulation to your joints, to your bones, things of that nature. It gets a little bit more into your fascia, which is a layer between the muscle and the skin. So it's different in that it's more passive. There's going to be slight activation in your body. That's just going to happen naturally. You can't really try to lengthen something and not have the opposing action happen. But that's not our focus. So rather than a flow class where you warm up and do a lot of movement beforehand, we're really just going to kind of go straight into the postures, and you're going to be holding them for longer than you normally would in like a flow type of practice. I love props for this type of practice, so I typically have blocks handy. I'm actually going to grab at least one pillow. If you have a bolster, that's fine, but these are just regular pillows. I might grab both. And then I'm also going to get a blanket to help kind of cushion and support things like the knees or the hands and the wrists. But also because you're moving a lot less, the body's not going to be quite as warm, right? You're not causing the heart rate to increase and pump blood more often. So your circulation is a bit more normal. So you could get chilly, and by the end of class, you might need a blanket to cover up with. So these are the things I'm choosing to practice with. Feel free to grab whatever you need. If you don't have blocks, use books. If you don't have books handy, use a table or a chair or something that has some height to it. Maybe you don't have a blanket nearby, but you've got a couple of t-shirts or some towels. Those work great as well. Pillows, right? Or some kind of small cushion. Those are great. So we're going to start in a lying down posture on our back, so a supine posture. Just making sure you've got your space. Make sure you've got either a pillow or a block handy. Plant the bottoms of your feet and then heel toe your feet a little bit wider, taking the outer edges of your feet toward the outer edges of the mat. And notice if you've naturally brought your feet in really close, or that's just out of habit. Let's take the feet forward a little bit. Then allow your knees to knock together. So maybe the inner thighs touch, you've got the knees resting together. Hands can rest onto the belly. That's where mine naturally land in this posture. Arms could be at your sides, palms up or down, and taking a couple moments to just center, to draw yourself in. And taking a moment to scan the body, the mind, taking an inventory of where you're at in this present moment. And then take a slow, deep inhale through your nose. Let your breath travel down to the base of the belly. Feel your belly lift toward the ceiling, but also your low back press down toward the floor, and allow your breath to spill into your ribs. Let them press up and your back press down. And even your chest. Feel the chest lift and the upper back press into the mat. And part your lips, slowly sigh out your breath from your chest, down through your ribs to the base of your belly. 2 more like that. Breathe in through the nose all the way down. Let your body expand, filling up through the ribs to the base of the throat. Open mouth, sigh. Breathe in one more time. Deep, calming Dirga pranayama. Open mouth, exhale. And then allowing your breath to either return to a natural rhythm if that's comfortable for you. Maybe you choose a little Ujjayi pranayama, some fire building breath if that's something you're used to. However you choose to breathe, I encourage you to do a slow, steady breath. So elongated inhales, elongated exhales, maybe even acknowledging that pause that lives between the inhale and the exhale and the exhale and the next inhale. And breathe in, heel toe the feet a little bit closer, about hips width. Plant the bottoms of your feet, but keep your feet spaced a little further away from you. And breathe in, draw your right knee in toward your chest. And either take a hold of the back of the thigh or the shin. And rather than actively trying to pull your knee toward you, allow your arms to get heavy, increasing the load on the leg. And one more breath cycle. And breathe in. And breathe out. Gently remove your left hand from your right shin and guide your right hip open. So you're allowing the right shin to abduct away from the midline of your body. Breathe in, gently adduct, bring your shin, your knee back in toward your chest. And breathe out, gently plant your right foot. Breathe in, guide the left knee toward the chest, hands to the shin or the back of the thigh, and allow the arms to get heavy rather than actively trying to pull the leg toward you. Increase the weight by relaxing the muscles. One more full breath cycle. Breathe in. Gently remove the right hand from the left leg. Breathe out. Guide the knee and the ankle outside of your ribs. So you're really just allowing your leg to open out rather than turning it or twisting or anything like that. Movements coming from the hip. It's a similar shape to or action movement to like a goddess squat, or if you're used to doing the prone position frog pose, it's that. And breathe in. Gently draw the thigh toward the chest. And breathe out, plant your left foot. Breathe in, take your left arm up by your left ear and gently roll onto your left side. Press both hands down into the earth. Come up. And gently make your way onto your hands and your knees. Shoulders land over the wrists, hips over the knees. Breathe in, slide your right leg long behind you. Plant the toes in the ball of your right foot. Breathe out, shift your weight back. So you're pressing through your right heel. We're not going to stay here too long, but getting a little stretch into the Achilles tendon. We're not going to do any down dogs or anything like that. So this can help get into the back of the leg. And breathe in, shift your weight. Bring your right knee underneath you. And breathe out, left leg goes long. Plant the ball of the foot, send the weight back. And breathe in, bring the left knee underneath the left hip. Breathe out, slide your right leg long. And then gently start to take your right leg out wide, sliding your foot up to where you can get your right foot outside of your right hand. Now you might get stuck somewhere. that's completely fine. You can grab and you can adjust so that your foot lands outside of your hand. And tuck the left toes, slide the left knee back a couple of inches, and notice if there is some sensitivity in the left knee. You can adjust the placement of the knee to get the kneecap where it feels a little bit better, but you can also add in that pillow, bolster, or blanket, towel, t-shirts, whatever it was you had nearby, that cushioning. I'm actually going to slide my left knee a little further back. And then notice if you're trying to send your weight back toward your left leg. Rather, let your weight shift forward so your hips scoop down and forward. That way, you're creating some length in the front of the left quadriceps, as well as getting into your psoas a little bit, your left hip flexors, and then you're getting some length into your right glute, as well as your right hamstrings, your right hip extensors. And hands can remain on the floor if this is really low, really intense. This is where you can build up your height. So if you had blocks nearby or books, you can get yourself taller. And if you had maybe a table, that can create that height, a chair, whatever it is. There are some slight changes that happen. So the higher you go, the more intense it can actually get into the hip of the back leg. The lower you go, the more intense it can get into the back of the front leg. Notice if you're slouching and curling in on yourself, can you draw your heart forward? Lengthen through the spine, out of the top of the head. Check in with your breath. If you've lost it, can you come back to it? Breathe and press into your hands. If you have something with height, take your hands up to that setting. So blocks, I'm going to shift to the highest setting. If I had books, I would do that. Table, I'm going to go up to the top of the table. If it's more like a folding chair, I would go to the hands to the seat. Push down into the hands and shift your weight back. So you start to shift your left hip on top of your left knee and your right leg can straighten. Now you can do this without blocks or anything under the hands. It's just going to increase the intensity in the front leg right away. Allow the ball of the foot, the toes to curl off of the floor, but your right heel stays down. Now as you're in this shape, note what's happening in your spine. If you're curling in, try to lengthen. So that might mean that you need to come a little higher. Find some length in your spine. And then hinge from your hips. So tilting the hip points forward, guiding through your heart, and coming down to your place of intensity. Really, in a yin practice, we're trying to find the spot where our body's like, whoa, I need a moment. And then we are going to wait for the body to say, okay, I can take a little bit more, rather than typically what happens in most practices is we just go right to the end goal without regard to what the body is actually cueing us for. If you folded quite far forward, breathe and come up. If you have blocks, keep your right block outside of your right leg. Take your left block to the outside. Then shift your right foot over toward the left side of your mat. So it doesn't even have to go exactly to the left. It could be the middle of the mat. You're just moving your leg left of where it is right now. And that might be using some strength in your leg. That might be grabbing the foot and moving it yourself. Once you have your leg shifted, turn your blocks about 45 degrees. And as the blocks turn, you're going to hug your right ribs toward your right hip and twist. This is getting more into your IT band and your TFL. You might even feel some length in the lower back, like your QL area. And you might stay here. The lower you fold, the deeper it gets. You might change the height of the blocks. If you change the height of the blocks, bring them back up to the high setting. Unfold. Take your left block outside toward the left edge of the mat. Turn your right block forward. And again, shift your right foot back. So your right foot's going to come in line with your hip. Breathe in, send your weight forward. Blocks can come forward with the hands. Push down into the hands, whether they're on the blocks or the earth. Take your right knee back. And then bring the hands down onto the floor. Gently lower your body down onto your mat. Arms can rest by your sides, or forearms can land underneath your forehead. Let your legs go long. Take a moment to rebound. Allow your breath to press into your lower spine when you breathe in. Gently plant the hands under the shoulders. And as gently as you can, trying to not use a ton of activation. Press into the hands, come up to the hands and the knees. Breathe in, slide your left leg long. Breathe out, swing the left leg wide. Get the left foot outside of the left hand. Make your adjustments. Feel free to grab and shift the leg. Tuck the right toe, slide the right knee back so the knee is behind the hip. And just like before, hands can be on the earth, hands can find some height. This is really up to you, and unlike what most people think, we don't need to force the body to look exactly the same on both sides. So if this side needs something a little bit different, more height, less height, that's fine. If the back knee needs to be further back or further in, that's fine. Breathe in, press into the hands. Maybe you take them up for some height. Shift your weight back, stack the right hip on the right knee, straighten the left leg. Allow the heel of the left foot to stay grounded, the ball and toes of the left foot to lift. Blocks can walk closer to you. Breathe in, find some length in your spine. Hinge from the hip as you breathe out, fold. Breathe in, unfold. Left foot shifts over toward the right. Right block goes to the outside of the left leg. Blocks turn about 45 degrees. Left rib comes toward the left hip as you twist. Height is up to you. Breathe in, unfold. Turn the blocks forward. Right block shifts to the right side of the mat. Left leg moves in line with the hip. Send the weight forward to the bottom of your left foot. Hands and blocks come forward. Press into the hands. Gently bring your left knee back. This time, send your feet to one side so you can lower your hips, and then gently bring your legs around in front of you. Shift to the middle of your mat, or so your heels are lined up with the front edge of your mat. Legs are long. Allow the kneecaps to point up toward the ceiling. Spine is long, lengthening from tailbone through the top of the head. Hands can rest on the legs or by your sides. And breathe in. Turn toward one of the long edges of your mat. Allow the legs to be wide. And you might want to bring with you as much stuff as you can. Pillows, blankets, blocks, books, whatever. Because you might need to kind of create some support. But it's always up to you. Your left leg is going to stay out long. And I'm actually going to start mirroring you now. So my right leg is going to stay long, but your left leg is. And then start to place your right hand under your right knee. Gently lift up so you can plant the sole of your right foot. And notice how this action feels in your right leg, your right hip. You can always stay here. If you would like to experience a different sensation and create more internal or inward rotation of the hip, then gently start to lower your right knee in toward the midline of your body. And as you do that, you might feel your right hip kind of shift a little bit. Now this is where your props can come into play, because you can always place whatever you need to underneath that right knee. So you're getting some internal rotation, but maybe not so much torque in the joint. You don't want to have a ton of pressure in the joint that you're having pain or compression or anything like that. That's not a fun thing to have happen. We don't want to hurt ourselves. So you can stack up as much as you need. You could come out of that. Maybe it doesn't feel appropriate for you, and you keep your knee up. Either way, it's fine. I'm going to lower my knee down, and then I'm going to play with how far away the right foot is from my right bum. So if I bring it in, what does that change within the knee? If it goes out, what does that change in the knee and or the hip? So the closer I bring the foot in, I actually don't have a ton of discomfort in either joint. The further I go out, I can feel a little bit more pressure into my hip. So I'm not going to really do this wide. I'm going to bring my foot in just a little bit closer and find that middle ground that suits my body. Then wherever you're at, Gently twist the ribs toward your left leg. Breathe in. And breathe out. Walk the hands forward, this time round into your back as you fold. So earlier when we were folding over the leg, I was trying to encourage you to keep a long spine. And this one, it's okay to round. This is another place where props can come in handy because you can place them on top of the leg to build up height. Or if by folding you notice that the back of the leg is like, ooh, not so good, you can either come out as much as you need to, or you can add some props underneath the knee. So you're adding a little bit of bend, which is going to take pressure out of the tissues of the back of the leg. And as before, you're going to pause wherever that the body had that first cue of, hey, let's hang out here for a little bit. And the longer you're in that particular place, you might notice that the body tenses up and it's like, you know, I've had enough. And that's fine. You can find a little bit of ease out, right? Respect what the body's telling you. Or it might be a day where your body says, well, let's wait here for a little bit. And then eventually it might say, you know what? Yeah, let's have some more, and it'll create some space and you can feel that. And then you go in, but don't invite yourself to the party. Let the body invite you. And breathe in gently, unfold. Take your time, move slowly. A little bit of energy, not a lot. Slowly untwist. With one or both hands for assistance, gently lift your right knee if it's turning inward at all. Heel toe your right foot in front of you. Right hand goes behind you or near your hip. Take a hand underneath the left knee, gently guide the left foot toward you. Left hand goes back for support. Can stay here, or using gravity as your assistant, gently sway the knees side to side. So I'm allowing gravity to press the knees down. And the next time your knees are up in center, walk the hands toward you so you can sit up, maybe shift your hips if you need to. Slide the right leg long and open. Guide the left knee out. So you've got that long straddle type of shape, or if you want, find your straddle first and then bend the left knee. Option, stay here. Or take your time to find the shape you need in your half frog pose. So start with gently rotating your left knee in and down. And if that's got a lot of compression, maybe the first option is find some lift, use your props to hold your leg in place so you don't have to do a lot of work for it. Maybe that is playing with how close the foot is to the bum or how far away it is. Once you find your place, I'm still kind of fidgeting, there we go. Breathe in, grow tall. Breathe out, twist from the ribs toward your right leg. And gently fold, roll into your spine as you fold. Pause at that first sign of discomfort or right before you find discomfort. Notice if you need to make any adjustments for the back of the right leg. Breathe in, gently unfold. Take your time. Move slowly. Let your head hang heavy. Slowly untwist. One or both hands assist you as you lift the left knee. Heel toe the left foot toward the left, in line with the left hip. Assist the right knee. Heel toe. Oh, goodness, excuse me. Hands plant. Option is sway the hips. And next time the knees are up, take a hold of the shins, pull your chest forward, let your chest rest onto your legs. Your head might float off of your knees. Your head might be able to rest on your knees. But really kind of just giving yourself a hug for a moment. Gently unwind. If you have about 2 minutes, 2 to 3, to lie in Shavasana, I encourage you to do so. I always encourage Shavasana. It's a great pose for release. It's a great pose for integration of the practice, not just in the mind, but really deep into the cells of your tissues. It's a great posture to help with the nervous system and integrating what you've taken in into your neurons, all of that. So if you have time, take your Shavasana. If you prefer seated meditation, your hips are certainly lubricated from all the different types of movements that you've done, that you could probably sit comfortably for a little while to meditate. If you have somewhere you need to be, that's totally fine, but this is where I'm going to leave you. So thank you so much for practicing with me.